Hey guys, welcome to Tim's Garage. Today we are relocating the breather on top of our valve cover so that we can get our hot pipe from the turbo through to the intercooler a little bit easier. So what we're talking about today is on the MPS6, you can see one of the parts that I really wasn't happy with when I rebuilt the engine was that the turbo pipe that comes out there, you can see it's pieced together by all kinds of funky stuff because we've got to dodge this breather, which then goes to an oil catch can that's buried down there. So to do that a bit better, I'm going to relocate that breather further back, a little bit closer to the our external, what am I calling it? Exhaust manifold, which is pretty much always external. But we're going to move it back where we've got a little bit more room back here, and then we're going to run the pipe along there. So obviously we don't want it to touch there, but it'll actually give us a direct straight up angle on that. So let's get to it. So we've got our cover right here, the tappet cover, and this is where it usually vents from. It's got a little valve there and some screws there, and so basically we're just going to relocate that point to up here a little bit more in the hope that that will work a bit better. We're going to have to take this little plate off because we're going to be welding and a little bit of fabrication-y kind of stuff. Got to take the gaskets out. I've got a new gasket sitting there if I need to, but this one was new when we did the engine build. If you haven't seen the video for this, check it out. I think I've got one. If not, I'll make one out of this. How to pull your tappet cover off. Making sense to me now. What happens is if you're looking at your manifold, your intake cover, you see these little divots, and those actually correspond to here where you see the air goes in there and out there. So basically what it's trying to do is this system's trying to stop oil from going back into your turbo through your return line, because that's bad. We actually don't want oil going through the turbo all that much over the fins, because that oil is going to end up in your engine and it's going to burn the oil. So this little plate which sits over the top allows air to go in, like some oil will get there, but air goes in this gap and this gap only, and as it pressurizes underneath here, these little razors allow the air to go. So the downside of what we're doing, because we're moving this back, it doesn't give it the flow that it usually would, which means that it's going to probably most definitely use more oil, unless the only way I could see around that is if I decided to move this vent from there to on top. Now the only downside of that is it's really ugly. I could also possibly move it to the side there, which I may have a look at, because then we actually get the benefit of the engineering of trying to stop the oil, making that oil travel. Obviously that's upside down, but making the oil travel this journey is travel that journey is supposed to stop the oil from making it all the way to the end. And if you were to look at that, you can actually see it's the dirty oil is kind of in there, but it's actually done its job pretty well. So if we can somehow do that, I would be happy. So let's see what we can do with that. Just gave that a degrease, sort of make sure that if I'm going to be cutting and welding on this, I don't really want oil all over it, because that would be bad. maybe just welding a bolt in or a nut, getting something in there, welding that in, and then bringing that down a little bit. Once I've got the edges of that welded, I can cut that and make it a bit nicer, a bit prettier. Then we'll obviously pull it all out. We'll weld this bit on, pull it all out, put it together, make it all nice. I've just drilled a pilot hole. Now I'm going to use a step drill, which will be awesome. We'll get all the right angles and everything on that. Of course, tie that up a bit and we'll weld that back on. That will work awesome. But the cool thing about a step drill is you can sort of work it out, especially if you've got the hole. You can stick it in and go, okay, that's 1, 2, 3 in. That's the size of the hole we want. Perfect. So pop that in and go down to 3. Now, I am not the best welder in the world. I'm happy to admit that. But what's happened is we ran out of gas while I was welding this thing up. And as you can see, this is just a plug, so it's not pretty at all. A little bit more tidying up of that one. But that's the old hole, and we've just kind of made that fit a bit better. This hole actually looks really nice, but you can see it's had a lot of work around it. And the reason being that this horrible looking, terrible mold, like just slag infested, blah, just won't take. I cannot seem to get that to take. I've tried TIG, then I ran out of gas and tried the stick. I've read up so much on this is like a cast like head, and so I've read up on how to weld that, and it cannot seem to get it to work. And because I ran out of gas and I'd really like to get this done today, I shot down to my friends at Motorsport Connection and grabbed some fittings. So the way this will work is now I'm going to drill that out a little bit bigger. We'll put our nice fitting on there and seal that with a bit of gasket. It'll be heat resistant. Then we mount our joiner on there, and all good. And that's the solution to our problem. That's alright. The other side we've put a ton of gasket stuff. It was pretty sealed, but I just want to make sure nothing comes out from the old hole. The new hole, we've got our fitting in there. It was really quite hard to thread that in, a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be. Once again, gaskety stuff just went everywhere. It's quite a mess. And this side, just because it didn't quite thread, it felt like it was threading alright, but then when I looked it wasn't. So I've actually got some JB Weld on there. I went to the shop looking for some JB Weld. It was sort of my original idea, is to actually see if I can get the stock pipe put into that fitting with some JB Weld. What is JB Weld? This is going to be amazing, okay? just having a bit of a read up. This stuff, probably have to order it from the States. It says made in the USA. Where is it? I don't know if you can read on there, but it is tensile strength of 3,960 psi and can withstand temperatures up to 287 degrees Celsius when fully cured. So that is what I'm going to pin some hopes and dreams on a little bit. It's actually threaded in, so that bolt threaded in alright. I just wasn't 100% happy with it, and it's definitely gasketed. As you can see, there's gasket everywhere. I just wanted it to be super good. So I'm going to let that dry now, which means kind of not a lot more to do for today. I'll let that dry, cover everything up. We've got our new hose, hydraulic hose sitting there. The reason we use hydraulic hose is it's oil resistant. It's a little hint, rather than using normal air hose. If you know there's a chance of getting oil in there, use some hydraulic stuff. Dearer, but it'll be worth it in the long run. And I've added an extra piece of hose there, just in case it does get closer to exhaust, or if it's touching on something, I don't want to rub a hole in that. We'll work on placement of that. I've also replaced the hot pipe there with one single piece of silicone, which is cool. Really nice stuff. Is the end result. You can see the fitting comes out on the opposite side of where it's supposed to. It actually goes up and around, because I didn't want to get too close to the exhaust. It's still fairly close, but I've also added an extra piece of extra thick rubber hose, just an extra piece of hose over there. I may even heat wrap that, depending on how it works. And that hose runs around into the oil catch can and then back out into into the intake. Now, one of those things in hindsight, if I had have mocked it up a little bit more, possibly could have got away with a different option if I had have known where I was going to land this. You can see there's the old fitting. I possibly could have got that direct out and actually missed it anyway. That would have been a much shorter, much more effective option, but you live and you learn. Eventually I would love to get a Gen 2 MPS 3 valve cover. The reason being, you can actually buy a breather with a one-way valve with a pressure release valve for your filler cap, which means if you do ever build up too much pressure in that crank, it can shoot that out and it'll actually vent some gas through there rather than either blowing out your dipstick or whatever. So, but for now, let's try the key and see if it works, and if it does, then the job's done. Yeah, well that's the relocation of the air breather. I guess I would just encourage you to follow the principles. Don't follow that exact job. Find the application that works best for you. Like I said already, if I happen to get my hands on a Gen 2 MPS 3 valve cover, I really like because it's got the screw-on adapter for the pressure valve release. If it does clock up too much pressure, I'll actually change what I've done already. Once all the pipes lined up, I guess it's a real, good example of make sure you measure twice, cut once kind of thing. Make sure that if you can mock it up and get an idea of what it'll look like with the new pipes. That was pretty hard because I would have had to, I guess in hindsight I would have cut it off put it back together, actually put it back on, put the pipes back on, work it out from there. But hindsight, always fun. So always learning, the mods never seem to end. And so wait for the next video when I will be going a little bit more extreme, where we're looking at adding a meth kit onto this car, which will be hooked up for when we're doing track days. It's one of those things that you need to make sure you know your laws, but we'll be doing that. We've also got a pile of parts sitting next to me, coilovers, all the rear sway bars, diff mounts, all those kind of things. We're going to be doing some road tests and some new parts as well on this in the next couple of weeks as we install those and do that, and just playing with a little bit of stance, but also some real performance-y kind of stuff. But for now, that's good. Now that that problem's fixed, we can actually up the boost, because what was happening, one of the issues with that is it was actually popping off the hot pipe off the turbo when it was getting full boost. And so now we can go back to tuning this thing, trying to get full performance out of it. And then once we get the methanol, we'll be able to tune it even further on the dyno, and that will be amazing. So some cool things happening in Tim's garage this year. And then of course the reveal of the big surprise, which is still a little bit up in the air with the other car. It's not really a surprise, it's just what I'm doing in the shed. But yeah, that'll be cool too. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for the comments of just this new year. Been on holidays and it's just been amazing getting a lot of real positive feedback, which I really do appreciate, and I always answer as soon as I possibly can. So thank you very much for that. We'll see you next time on Tim's Garage.